following interview is part of the Price of Freedom Oral History Series, sponsored by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission. Our goal is to inform the public of the sacrifices made by veterans in our community on battlefields around the world. Each veteran interviewed received a Valor Award for their heroism during combat and is a member of the Military Heritage Hall of Heroes. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this Military Heritage program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Today we'll be talking with U.S. Army Brigadier General retired Robert Stewart. General Stewart served 28 years in the Army. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross with 3 oak leaf clusters while serving as a combat helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He was inducted into the Madison County Hall of Heroes in 2022. Following his combat tour in Vietnam, General Stewart became a flight instructor, a test pilot, and the first active-duty Army officer to become an astronaut. He flew on space missions in 1984 and 85 and had the opportunity to walk in space. It is now my pleasure to welcome Brigadier General Robert Stewart. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Tom.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about your love of aviation. Your father gave you some money to become maybe a future pilot at a young age. Tell us about that experience.
We were driving to meet the extended family one night. We were passing Columbus Air Force Base. Dad saw a lot of airplanes in the traffic pattern. And he, for some reason, looked at me and said, "Bob, would you like to do that?" "Oh, this was great." "Yes, Dad, I would love to do that." I said, "Well, we got to clear it with Mom." Yeah. That was the problem.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the problem. So he did give me $150 for Christmas, and that got me started.
It's a lot of money. A lot of money.
A lot of money in 1963.
Yes.
Yes. No, this was before 63. This was 59.
59.
59. Yes, told me that after that I was on my own. So I had to figure out how to do the rest of it.
What was it that excited you all that much about flying a plane? You just see planes fly over when you're very young and, hey, I'd like to do that.
As a matter of fact, that's exactly what happened. I got a chance to fly on an Eastern airliner to go visit my aunt in Houston, Texas, from Birmingham. And I fell in love with it from there. When I was looking at that big airplane and I'm looking out at the wings and there's nothing holding it up. This is magic.
Just floating in the air, yeah.
And I looked out and clouds seemed like canyons and mountains and we were flying through it. It was just effortless and I fell in love with it right there.
Yeah. Tell us a little about growing up. Where did you grow up? You're born in Mississippi, is that correct? Or
no, I was born in Washington, D.C.,
yes,
but it wasn't my fault. I was young at the time.
I understand.
No, I consider Sheffield as my home.
I see.
My extended family ranged from Jackson County all the way over to Colbert County. And my family was intimately involved in the foundation of TVA. My grandfather was on the survey team. He was very young to be on the survey team, but the survey team that laid in Wilson Dam.
I see, okay.
I had
that's in Colbert County, I believe.
Yes,
yes.
Right,
it
well, it spans between Colbert and Lauderdale.
Yeah.
I had my mother's uncle was sheriff of Jackson County, so we're kind of scattered all the way from Sheffield to Scottsboro.
Where did you go to high school and then on to college? Where did you? 3
years of my high school life was at Sheffield High.
Okay.
And then Dad was transferred, so we left Sheffield and went to Hattiesburg. So I actually graduated from Hattiesburg.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Mississippi.
I see. And you were interested. Of course, you kept your interest in aviation. And when did you decide maybe that you'd like to go to get into Army aviation?
Well, it was a funny thing because I'd always wanted to be a soldier. When I was born in 1942, so riding troop trains got to be second nature for me and my mom. And my mother said that she would climb on board one of these troop trains to go visit Dad, and some soldier would grab me, and she said it might be 2 hours before she saw me again. Can you imagine that happening today? And these were the days of cloth diapers too. Yeah. So I probably peed in the laps of half a Third Army before.
You're being passed around.
Yes. Because the soldiers missing their families and I was a substitute.
Yeah. So where did you go undergo your training?
For
Aviation and
aviation, well, aviation is Fort Walters, Texas, which was a great place to train helicopter pilots because the terrain around there was suitable for pinnacle landings, ridgeline landings. Then you went to Fort Rucker, Alabama for transition into the Huey and learn a little bit about what it would be like to fly in combat.
What was the toughest thing, General, about learning how to fly an airplane?
Actually, Tom, I hate to say this, but it was always kind of natural to me. I remember the first time I taxied a Cessna 150, the first time I'd ever been at the controls of an airplane when the motor was turning. And I thought, you know, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
And I've always felt at home in an airplane
Yeah.
or a helicopter.
Did you ever have any pretty mishaps or close mishaps while you were in training?
No, actually, I was pretty satisfied with the way things went during the training. I flew with some absolutely marvelous people. I guess John Fouché was the first instructor pilot I had at Fort Walters, and probably the best helicopter pilot I've ever flown with.
Oh, yeah. And he was one of your instructors?
He was my first instructor.
I see, yeah. Now, out of your training, did you go directly to Vietnam, or did you go to another duty station before you went overseas?
No, Tom, it was like my orders to Vietnam were printed on the back of my wings.
Really?
So, yeah, oh yeah. So I went to Vietnam direct. It took 30 days of leave before I left, say goodbye to my family, and then it was off to Vietnam.
And this was like 1966, 67 in that time frame?
Yes, 66.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. What was your first impression when you got to Vietnam?
Well, you know, I'm a soldier. I signed on to do a job. I don't get to pick what that job is. So my first impression was, you know, what am I doing here?
Right.
How do I do my job, serve with honor so as not to embarrass my father and the generation of men who literally saved the world in World War II? And how do I make those two work? Now, that means that as soon as I get to my duty assignment, which was Soc Trang in Vietnam, I'm a lieutenant, I'm an officer, but I recognize the fact that there's a lot of warrant officers out there that know infinitely more than I do about how to survive combat. So the first thing I had to do was find a good, competent warrant officer that was about to leave country and say, teach me how to do it.
Absorb everything you can.
Absorb everything that he had to pay for earlier.
How long was it before you started flying combat missions?
About 2 days.
Really? That long, huh?
Yes, that long. But only because, you know, our company is, we've got a job to do, so we're out flying. So there was nobody around but me, basically in the company area. So we had to wait until the pace of combat slowed down a little bit, so that I could have one of these experienced guys fly with me.
Right. Were you really nervous that first flight and going into combat? I mean,
Well, yes.
you're thinking somebody could shoot me down here, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I remember the first combat assault. I was sitting there in a hot LZ, the mortar rounds impacting all around me, and I'm thinking, geez, I'm sitting in the middle of a John Wayne movie here. But quickly, I got the feel of it. I got to see that there's nothing I can do about a mortar round coming in, so why worry about it?
Yeah.
I've got to do my job and not worry about
Move on, yeah.
Charlie doing his job. Yeah.
Follow your training and so forth.
Yeah.
What kind of, you were flying the Huey at that time?
Huey, UH-1B model.
You told me one time that the Huey, you loved the aircraft, but it tried to kill you several times, right?
Oh yes, it did. No, I'm being a little bit facetious up there. The Apache tried to kill me a couple of times as a test pilot. But flying the helicopter, I only flew about 1 month of troop transport helicopters. We called them slicks. About 1 month of slicks before I went to fly guns. And that's where I met a lot of people that I will absolutely never forget.
Yeah.
As a gun pilot.
You still try to get together with some of the guys that you served with, even to this day?
When it happens,
Yeah.
it happens. We're all getting kind of old now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
Tell me about it.
we
Yeah.
used to have, we used to have planned reunions, but we've stopped that because we're getting old.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Traveling is harder.
All right, exactly. General, you received 4 Distinguished Flying Cross Awards for your heroism in Vietnam. Is there one mission you flew that still stands out in your mind?
There's so many,
Yeah.
Tom. I guess I remember one distinctly because I got a guy's foot shot off. He was my co-pilot that day. He'd only been in country, I guess, about a week, and I was one of the guys that was supposed to teach him how to fly guns. Well, there was this machine gun that was killing my guys on the ground.
Yeah.
He had to be taken out. And I was looking for a way that I could attack this machine gun without exposing myself too much. And all of a sudden I thought, there it is, there's my path in. So I turned in, and unfortunately I was flying right down his principal axis of fire. He stitched it right across the nose. Joe Winters was the guy's name. Got his foot shot off. Fortunately, the medical services were wonderful in Vietnam. We could, that's why we had such good, successful return to flying status with people that were wounded. Anyway, Joe's foot got shot off. I got out of the area, landed, got him on a medevac helicopter. They took Joe to Japan. They cut his foot the rest of the way off and slammed it back together, and he's fine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Back
But
then,
I do remember that thinking,
That
oh no, I've screwed up big time
Yeah.
flying down this gun's principal axis of fire.
What about you? Were you ever injured, General?
Yes, I was injured twice. I got shot a bullet through my left foot. And the second time I got a bunch of shrapnel in my face and neck. Bled like a stuck hog, but it didn't amount to anything. Actually, that shrapnel I got in my face could have ended my flying career because had I not had my visor down to protect my eyes, I would be blind.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't have it down and just want
No,
you always.
you stack every odd
I see.
in your odds in your favor before you fly.
Exactly, yeah. Was there a ritual you would go through before each mission? You have a rabbit's foot, a lucky coin you carried, or simply say a prayer, or what? Anything like that?
Well, I was a first lieutenant at the time, so I didn't have it early on, but I was promoted to captain. Now, after I was promoted to captain, I had a set of captain's bars that my uncle had given me, and I call those my lucky captain's bars. And the reason I do that is because the first time I got shot through the foot, I forgot to wear my lucky bars that day. And so I thought, okay, we will never forget
Never
these.
forget that.
Yeah, never forget these.
Was there a limit on the number of combat missions you were allowed to fly, say, during your time, or a certain time, and certain combat missions in a month, or so forth?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
Practically, no. We were supposed to go see the flight surgeon if we flew more than 90 hours in 30 days. So after about 2 weeks, we'd go see the flight surgeon. He'd stamp your go for flying.
Yeah.
So that theoretical limit was never observed.
Yeah.
We just had too much to do and too few people to do it. So you couldn't afford to ground a guy after 90 hours.
You were there a year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, did it get harder or easier the more missions you flew? I know you're gaining experience, but did it get harder each mission, flying?
No, it was, you get to thinking after you've done something, that was really stupid. Let's don't ever do that again. And of course, we never did that again until the next time we had to do that again.
Right.
So it actually leveled out after I got familiar with my job as a gun pilot, as a fire team leader. Then I spent 10 months, I'm just kind of cruising. trying to keep my people alive. I thought that my job was to do my job, first of all, number one, and in the process of doing that job, keep as many of my people alive as possible. I wanted all my guys to see tomorrow morning.
Yeah. And that's part of how you handle stress, right? I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, but that's something you have to do every day. I mean, it's on your mind, right?
Every day.
Yeah.
You gotta. Now, I did have nightmares when I saw that I was going to have to go to Viton. That was a really bad area for us, and we got in big trouble all the time at Viton.
Lost some pilots and some crews up there.
You don't worry about that. You just might say, oh, gee, I wish we weren't going to Viton tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go out and leave and go to combat.
How did your experience in combat affect your outlook on life? Did it create any problems for you? I mean, I know you mentioned nightmares, but later on in life, or?
Oh no, no. Okay. And nightmares. I'm being a little bit facetious
Sure, I
there.
understand.
I knew Viton was going to be hard, but it's not. Doesn't mean that I'm thinking about not going or anything like that.
You had a mission. You had a
I had a mission.
job
I had a job to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I recognized the fact that I might be hurt. When I was about to do something that I knew was really stupid and my chances of getting out of it successfully were bad, I would utter my standard expletive, oh, blank. And then you go ahead and do it anyway.
And just move on.
Yeah,
right.
Move on.
You mentioned you're a training pilot, I think, earlier. But is there one person, another group of people who possibly helped prepare you to take the actions you did in combat? Say like a family member and flight instructor, which you mentioned. Someone who really you looked up to as you went along in your career.
I guess the guy that I look up to mostly, who has been really mostly influential in my career, was my platoon leader, my gun platoon leader in Vietnam, who later became a lieutenant general and commander of the 101st Airborne Division as a major general. Teddy Allen was his name. And he protected me. He knew that I was a competent gunship pilot, but I was a first lieutenant. And there's all these captains that want my job. And he protected me and kept me in that position until I became a captain. And then I was pretty much safe.
Yeah, yeah. You get
so I flew as fire team leader for the rest of, for about 11 of those 12 months in Vietnam.
Well, you later became a general. Did you get to meet him or see him anymore after,
Yeah, now this is very fortunate, a stroke of God working in the background. As I was here in Huntsville as the Deputy Commanding General of Army Strategic Defense Command, working in President Reagan's SDIO program, Teddy was the Commanding General at 101st.
Really?
So he would call me every now and then and say, "Hey, Bob, you want to get your attitude squared away?" So I would run up there and I would fly with his guys.
I see.
With the 160th SOAR or some of his organic 101st.
Yeah.
So he let me keep my attitude squared away.
Good.
And of course we've been tracking. He was the first guy I thought of when I was assigned to my first space flight, because I'm allowed to take 1 pound of stuff for people as gifts. He was the first guy I thought of.
Right. Yeah.
So I flew his T-bird pen. So T's got the only T-bird pen that's been in space.
Fantastic. Okay. When you got any free time, however little that was in Vietnam, what did you do? What kind of relaxation was available for you?
I really didn't do anything. I'm an incredibly boring person, and we had couldn't get off of base without a lot of. I'm trying to figure a way to say this gracefully.
Right.
But there was a price on the gun pilot's head.
Sure.
And so going downtown in Soc Trang was hazardous, because I don't want anybody collecting a reward that's on my head.
Right.
And I don't know who these people are downtown. So I was pretty much stayed on base, except a couple of times I went into Soc Trang to get gifts to send home, things like that.
Did you have like a ping pong table or a pool table under a tent or something that you guys could relax
No,
on?
we didn't. We had a football.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we could stay outside and toss that football around. But usually what we were doing was killing time, because I didn't have a mission, but I had my helicopters parked right there on the ramp. As we were tossing the football back and forth, I could be airborne in less than a minute.
You're always on the ready, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
always
yeah.
on the ready.
No cell phones back then. Did you have access to a phone to occasionally, call back home, talk to the family? And
No, and this was the problem with that over there. Is, there's a day and night are opposite each other
right.
over there. So when I might have been able to talk to my wife, I was off flying combat missions. There was a ham radio system that was set up there. And a lot of the guys that were not flying all the time could use that, because they could stay up at night and talk to the people back in the States, because they didn't have to go fly at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning.
What went through your mind, General, when you were leaving Vietnam, out of a war zone, out of harm's way? What was going through your mind when that plane was gaining altitude?
Everybody on the airplane. It was like we're sitting here thinking, I'm not even going to breathe hard because I might make it.
Yeah.
I might make it home. Then you take off and you look out the window and say, oh, I'm still over land. And then as the airplane crossed the shore, you could hear everybody on board going,
wow, what a
I
relief.
have made it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't until you crossed the shoreline.
Yeah, and you're out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been back to Vietnam since that time?
I have not. Some of my friends in the VHPA, the Vietnam Helicopter Pilots Association, have been back, and they say it's a remarkable country, that they were not looked on as former enemies. They were looked on as somebody that's coming over here to help me learn how to be an entrepreneur and set up my business. And we got one of the weirdest things I saw from that is a friend brought back a photo of a communist flag flying outside of a Gucci store. Now talk about vastly different thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my opinion, I have a very high opinion. I think the Vietnamese people are really good people if they're not trying to kill you. Yeah. I guess they want to be not a communist country. They want to be more like Hong Kong. They'll fly the communist flag and they'll have a communistic government, but they want to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
And I think we should help them.
Want to do something and make something of themselves and their companies.
Exactly.
Okay. So you were leaving, you left Vietnam. What was your next duty station? Is that when you became a test pilot or flight instructor? Or
Yes,
what did you do after that?
Yes, I became a test pilot. I got back home. I had applied for, well, of course, there's the standard Army assignment things, schools and things like that. But one of those schools that I applied for was the U.S. Navy Test Pilot School. My first assignment was, of course, as a instructor pilot at Fort Walters. I really liked that. I was a flight instructor in airplanes before I got into the Army. So this was, I guess you would say, my second love as far as just flying airplanes and helicopters, teaching young people how to fly a helicopter. I sort of phrase it as trying to teach a young man who has difficulty operating a wheelbarrow how to fly the most complex flying machine in existence.
Do the things that your favorite flight instructor did for you.
I used all of his tricks.
Yeah.
When I was flying with John, it wasn't just to learn how to fly the helicopter, though God knows, I was behind the power curve on that. But looking at how he taught me to fly that helicopter. And I used a lot of his tricks.
He taught you well, didn't he?
He taught me well.
Yeah. Let's go back just a little bit, General. When you were coming back, first got back to the States from Vietnam, did you encounter any of the protests, at that time, and some of our veterans that I've talked to, were spit on and that sort of thing. Did you encounter anything like that?
Oh, no, really. I was very fortunate. I went to, as part of my assignments, to get a master's degree in aeronautical engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington. There was one time on the TCU, Texas Christian University campus, that I went over there to serve on an ROTC board, theoretically to eliminate this young man who didn't want to be in the Army. As I was walking across the campus in uniform, there's this young stud that came striding towards me like, I'm going to confront you. And I just stopped and looked at him like, with my eyes saying, are you sure you want to do this? And he decided that he was alone and he didn't want to do that. So that was the closest I ever came to a confrontation.
That was within a few weeks or just right after you came back from Vietnam?
Oh no, I had been back for a while. I had gone through a couple of different duty assignments by then, and so it was a significant time after I'd gotten home.
Yeah. Now, I think I've talked to you before, you flew just about every kind of plane there is. How many aircraft are you checked out on?
Oh, something over 40.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you stop counting after a while.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but basically an airplane flies like any other airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fly a Cessna 150 or a Boeing 747 using the same thing. Now, the systems are vastly different on those two airplanes, but the way you fly it is about the same. Not so in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Helicopter is a different animal, and it's much easier to go from airplane to airplane than it is from helicopter to helicopter.
So you flew a larger aircraft like a 707 or something like that?
No, I've never flown anything that big. I've flown the C-140, which is a 4-engine jet, but it's really basically a business jet. But in my career, I flew the F-104 and I flew the Goodyear blimp, and those two aircraft are at the bottom end of that bell-shaped curve. The top end of that bell-shaped curve is the T-38, which I flew with NASA, and the UH-1, which is the world's most experienced combat aircraft.
Now you were a test pilot. Did you have any close calls with some of these?
Well, the Apache did try to kill me a couple of times, but I mean that's why you're a test pilot. You're supposed to do that so it won't kill anybody else.
Yeah. Then you decided to become an astronaut. So we want to talk about that, of course. What prompted that decision?
I was mad at the Army. Yeah, because I didn't get the assignments that I thought I needed in order to advance my Army career. So I was thinking, well, if the Army doesn't want me, I guess I'll just leave. And I was walking down the hallway at Edwards Air Force Base, where I was assigned as a test pilot, and I saw this little blue square piece of paper on the bulletin board. Said NASA's looking for space shuttle crews. Here are the qualifications. I found that I met all of those qualifications, submitted my application to NASA through the Army, along with 24,000 other people in the country that out of that 24,000, NASA picked 8,000 that were fully qualified, met all of their requirements. Out of the 8,000, they picked 200 that were most qualified. And they took the 200 of us to Houston for a week's worth of physical and psychological evaluation, and they picked 35. So if I can tell the kids anything special is from the time that the 24,000 applications hit NASA until they picked the 200, nobody ever saw another human being. So it's very important, the paper trail that you leave. Don't let anybody tell you that grades don't matter, because the grades were all they saw from 24,000 weeding down to 200. From 200 on down, then they had time to look at people.
Wow. Well, quite a process.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, how long was your training? Do you have to
Before my
undergo?
first flight?
Yeah.
Well, that was an interesting thing. We were supposed to be flying space missions 2 years after we reported, and we reported in 1978. When we got down there, those of us that were experienced aviators looked at the status of the space shuttle and said, ain't no way we're going to fly this thing in 2 years. So we got to work, rolled up our sleeves, and made the space shuttle work. My specialty, since I had quite a bit of experience as an experimental test pilot, was the space shuttle's entry flight control system. And I guess it all worked out because we got John and Crip back on that first flight.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now you flew on 2 shuttle missions, 1984 and 85. Walked in space. I know you've been asked many times, what kind of feeling was that? I mean, you didn't have a line, or you weren't tethered at that time. You were just
we
out
went
in space.
Yes.
I mean, what kind of feeling did that give you?
It's impossible to describe. I mean, you look down and the planet is just absolutely beautiful, much more beautiful than it is from inside the spacecraft where you're looking through dirty windows, like an airplane. The first thing that I noticed getting out was the sense of speed. You might think that, well, in an airplane you're flying 600 miles an hour, but you're 40,000 feet up, and it hardly looks like you're moving. Well, even at 150, 170 miles up, you know you're smoking, because you're going 17,500 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And that's very visually impressive. Yeah. But as far as any concerns, other than the normal concern I have, well, if my spacesuit fails, I'm going to die. But you don't worry about things like that.
Right. Put them out of your mind.
Yeah. And it sounds kind of crazy, but we're like the old hard rock miners in the West. Their motto was never deal with a small amount of dynamite. You don't want to blow an arm off. You either want to be okay or dead. There's my choices. In space, I'm going to be either okay or I'm going to be dead. So don't worry about it.
Move on.
Move on.
How did you get used to weightlessness? I mean that took some...
It took about 3 days.
Yeah.
To become totally adapted to zero G. It takes about 3 days to get used to gravity when you come back down. Yeah. But that just serves to tell people that the human body is very adaptive. It doesn't take us a long time to really just throw away everything, all the way my brain is wired, and now rewire it to operate in zero G. And then when I come back, I have to do that same thing in reverse.
You were strapped in when you slept, right? I mean, you had something to hold you to the bunk?
Yeah, but very loosely, not firmly strapped down. NASA wanted us to have a firm foundation. But in space, your body wants to do what it wants to do. And why fight it? So basically, I just had a tether that I wouldn't float around the cabin all night.
Yeah. How long were your I think your second mission was longer, or was your first?
First mission was longer.
Yeah. You were how many days were you up there?
8 days.
8 days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the second mission was 4 days.
Yeah. Second mission, I believe, was on the Atlantis.
Right, first flight of Atlantis. Mm-hmm.
And you were telling me earlier that they're pretty nice. Once you get accustomed, I mean, at Atlantis especially, it had all the gadgets, right? All the bells and whistles.
Yep, everything worked perfectly. And for the first flight of any airplane,
right,
to have everything work perfectly is really unheard of.
Yeah, yeah.
Atlantis was a good bird.
Yeah. You still stay in touch with some of the guys that you went in space with? I don't remember their names or recall their names right off, but you stay?
No, I don't. Yeah. For some reason, it was different when I left Vietnam. I still, when I meet up with one of my Vietnam buddies, it's like we picked up right where we left off 40 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, now Joe, as I was saying, but not so much with the astronaut corps. When I left the space program, I left the space program.
Moved on. And what year did you retire from the space program?
From the space program, 86.
86, yeah.
Yeah, I came here to Huntsville in 1986 as part of SDIO. But you know, I've never been to an astronaut reunion, but I have been to reunions of my combat
I see.
buddies in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah. As you think back on your life and all the things you were able to accomplish, would you do it all over again, or would you change anything?
Absolutely. I think I would do everything just like I did.
You lived quite a life.
It was fun, yes.
General, what advice would you give to those students who may be watching this interview and are considering a career in the military or even the astronaut corps? What advice would you give them?
That's a tough question, Tom, and you're asking me to be honest with you.
Right.
It depends on the political feelings in the country. As a soldier with a lot of restrictions, put it that way. In Vietnam, we could not just do anything that we wanted. It can cause some problems. You can get people hurt that shouldn't be hurt because you're doing stupid things that shouldn't be done. On the other hand, I did have the authority. I mean, I've got the main control thingy of my helicopter here in my hand, and I choose who I shoot down there on the ground. For instance, I was given the job of escorting Robert McNamara through South Vietnam, through the Delta. The
Defense Secretary at that time, I think.
I think he was president of the World Bank at that time,
see.
but I'm not exactly sure. I think he was going to be Secretary of Defense. He was going to fly on a CIA Air America helicopter, and I was going to be his gun escort. And the CIA pilot said, "I'd like to fly low level through Long Xuyen Province." And I said, "Okay, that's fine with me, but I will not return fire in Long Xuyen Province. I will, if you go low level through Long Xuyen, I'm going to 3,000 feet and I'll watch you, but I am not going to return fire." Because that province was pacified. It was, I would have taken Mary and the kids, or the one kid at the time. Right. I would have had them in Long Xuyen Province. And my thought was that if I do some boneheaded trick and shoot the wrong person in this province, I've destroyed the peace of that province.
Right, right.
It happened because back in the early days, I'm thinking late 50s, 60s, somewhere in that time frame. The Viet Cong had killed this religious order, the Hoa Hao sect of Buddhism, killed their head man. And they didn't like that. Right. And so anybody that came into the province that would have been part of that organization, they ended up floating face down in the canal. So no, I'm not going to destroy the peace of that province. For any, I don't care if you are going to be the sect down. Now, the thing about it is the Air America pilot said, "Oh, sure, okay." He was fine with it too, because I don't think he wanted to destroy the peace of Long Xuyen Province either.
General Stewart, when people call you a hero for what you did in the military, in combat, and in the astronaut corps, how does that make you feel? How do you feel about something like when they call you a hero?
Tom, I believe that the word hero is the most abused word in the English language. I mean, it seems like if you just do your job, if you survive doing your job, you're a hero. There's heroes all over the place. There's military heroes, and there's police, and there's fire, and there's first responders, and all of these guys are heroes. But I see so many people that they just survived. Right. By luck. Yeah. They're called heroes too. And so I'm a little bit disappointed with the term hero.
I understand. Yeah, good point. Excellent point.
You know, when you guys inducted me into the Hall of Heroes, I felt a little weird. until I saw how many people were there to be a part of this ceremony.
Yeah. Okay, I want you to tell us about your family. I know you and your wife Mary have 2 daughters and several grandchildren. You have any great-grandchildren?
Oh yes.
Oh, okay.
I've only got 4 grandchildren, but I've got well, three on the ramp and 2 in the hangar, so to speak. So yes, the great-grandchildren are multiplying like rabbits here, so we got to watch out.
Yeah. You and your wife Mary have been married quite a long time.
59 years.
59 years.
Yeah. I have put her through a lot.
And she's still with you.
She spent most of our married life not knowing whether I was going to come home at the end of the day.
Well, I've met her and she's a great lady. You're very fortunate, sir. Yeah.
I am.
Now, I know you're still involved in aviation to a certain extent. You're a part of the Helicopter Pilots Association here at the Huntsville area. Explain what you guys do.
We have got a old HOH Mike model, which was a gunship in the early days in Vietnam. Before we had Cobras, we had the Bs, Cs, Mikes. We pull this thing around, which gives us a chance to let the kids in schools and things get in it and throw switches, and nothing is active in it, so they can throw any switches they want to, move the controls around. But aside from letting the kids get familiar with it, it gives us a chance to talk to the teachers. Because I find there's a terrible misunderstanding of who we Vietnam veterans are. And it's because of the news media. Sorry if I offend you on that, but the news media has done a terrible job of explaining, you know, what the realities were. I find teachers that, well, one of them that stuck out in my mind, she came up to me and said, "You're doing so well." How am I doing well? With your drug problem and all. Lady, I'm a experimental test pilot, an astronaut. I do not have a drug problem. But that's the way people think of us. So I have to explain to them that we're no different than the normal public. As a matter of fact, the statistics show that soldiers in Vietnam were the most educated group of soldiers we have ever put into the field. People think that everybody, that they were drafted and we were thrown into this hopper. During World War II, about a third of the soldiers were volunteers. 2/3 were drafted. In Vietnam, 2/3 were volunteers, 1/3 were drafted. So, you know, no, we're not victims of doing anything. We did our job because we believed in this country. And in this country, the civilian leadership, who we all get to vote for and we all elect, pick out who we're going to fight.
Right.
And sometimes they do it brilliantly, as they did during World War II. Sometimes it's abysmal.
You still get to travel a good bit? Like, for instance, like if you're flying in a plane these days, you think, well, gosh, I could go up and fly this thing. I mean, those thoughts go through your mind, you know, when you're flying somewhere?
My thoughts are, I'm not going to fly in this thing because they've locked the door to the cabin. I can't get up there.
I can't get in there, okay. General Stewart, you were inducted into the Madison County Military Hall of Heroes in 2022. What did that mean to you?
It was very much of a shock, because as I said before, I don't consider myself a hero. I consider myself a soldier who did my job as a soldier and did it fairly well. But when I walked into that hall and I saw the response of Huntsville, we have got a city here that respects the military. And that is such a good feeling to those of us that dedicated our lives to the military. And thank you for being the host, by the way.
Well, I enjoy it. Always a pleasure meeting folks like you. You're well deserved. General Stewart, I want to thank you for being a part of our Oral History, Price of Freedom Oral History interview series. We appreciate your time, and thank you, sir, for your service to our country. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage series, please contact the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.us. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.